Okay, so the course is on something called as DevOps and Cloud Computing. Okay, this is the course that we are going to be covering. And before we proceed, I'll just talk a little bit about IT Talent Hub. We're based out of Ilford in UK, and the all the um, people who have enrolled have been, placed in multiple companies, and also other than that, IT Talent Hub also has clients who we do projects and do collaborations with. So some of those companies are Transform, Micro, uh, and such companies. And also all the students end up getting, certificates as well as placements in well-reputed companies in the UK, which is say even any sector, whether it be pharma, healthcare, finance. Okay, so what we're looking forward is a training course, which is designed particularly for the UK job market in particular, with focus not just on the what do you say the training aspect, but also the placement part we are looking into. Okay, so where we will prep you for the interview process and all, and based on that, you'll be more confident in attempting the interview, which are going to be lined up. Okay. So there's a job placement support which is being provided. There will be a CV will be reviewed, and we'll create a CV for you, which is in at par with what is the expectation for getting a job. And there will be a real-time support for the project work. And your training will be based on technologies that are relevant to the UK job market. Based on that, your resume will also be streamlined. Okay. So we are expecting that the training will go up to 2 months. So if the pace is slightly off course, then it might come to 2.5 months. That depends on how far you're able to catch up. Okay, so if you're from a IT background, you may finish faster. If you're not from non-IT background, maybe it can go up to 2.5 months. But I believe that 2 months is on an average is more than enough. And there will be a live project which we'll be covering in 1 month. Then post which there will be a small short assessment. Okay, that assessment will slightly help us to understand, how to go about with the job support service which will be provided post that. Okay, so this is the job support approach. And for the mentoring part of the training, we'll have one particular mentor. And then after which we'll have a job support mentor specifically assigned to you. So that will who will help with the CV writing and also help you with our own inbuilt collaborations that we have with the companies that we have to help with the placements. Okay, so preparation for the interview and final, all those support will be provided by from our end. Okay, so before we move ahead, I just want to talk about what this course is all about. Okay, this coursework is about DevOps and some cloud computing. Okay, so generally this is now a very much popular field right now, which is DevOps mainly. Okay, cloud computing has already been there for some time. You could say from 2010 onwards, it has, the popularity has just risen a huge amount. And name it anything, whether it be AI or any field, it's all based on cloud computing. You have to host it on a cloud platform. Okay, we will be specifically focusing on AWS, which is Amazon Web Services for our hosting, cloud computing hosting part. And when we talk about DevOps, we can talk about two parts, which is Dev and Ops part. Right. In case you're not able to understand what I'm saying, you can stop me then and there, and I will help you with if you have any doubts. Okay. So in the dev part, we will be focusing on how, as a DevOps engineer, you could be helping the developers. Okay, which is nothing but the people who write the code. Okay, code is generally written in some programming language. So we are not developers. We are DevOps engineers. Number one. Okay, so we are not writing the code. Okay, we're going to help the developers with a set of tools. Okay, we'll come to what the tools are for now. So what kind of code? You could be writing a Java code, you could be writing a React code, any sort of programming languages which are there, Angular project, whatever project be it. This code has to be deployed on a server machine. Okay, on a computer wherein you have a server software installed on that machine, say probably a Tomcat. Okay, these are some of the web server softwares. Okay, Okay, making it a website once it is hosted as on the web server in a system, then you call that can be what you say accessible through the browser over the internet. Over the internet. Okay, that's how you launch any or go make a project go live. Okay, so that code has to be deployed on this machine. This machine will be provided from a cloud computing environment like Amazon Web Service. Okay, we'll go into that part later on. But what I'm trying to say is that, see, the code that is there, maybe there will be version 1, version 2, version 3 of the code. Okay, which version of the code should go to the final server? Where should it be version 3? What if I made a mistake in the version 3? All right. In case I make a mistake in version 3, then what would I want to do? I want to revert back to version 2 fast. So what do I need to maintain? I need to maintain a trace or sort of, you could say, a history of the code that is written. Okay. For maintaining the history of that code, we have a DevOps tool which is called as GitHub. Okay. GitHub is a website, but you could say that the tool that we're going to use is Git. Okay. So this GitHub combination is what we're going to use for version control of the code. Okay. And for instance, you deploy the code. Who is going to maintain the server? The ops team. Okay. So like developers are part of writing the code. The ops team are the ones who maintain these servers. Okay. So they could be the administrators or say the network engineers who make sure the servers are connected to the internet. Okay. So as you know that cloud computing can never exist without the internet. Right? Without the internet, you cannot have cloud computing existing. Okay. Is that clear till here? Any doubt till here? Isa, can you confirm? Audible? Isa?
Yes, please continue. Yeah, all good.
Yes. Okay. Swapna, what about you? May I know, are you from IT or I? Sorry.
Yeah, Indu, I'm from IDTH.
Oh, ITT. Okay, right. Okay. I thought you were connecting through ISS account. Sure, no problem. Thank you. Yes. So what we're going to focus on, the mainly in DevOps, is a bunch of what we call as DevOps tools, which is going to help the developers and the operations teams. So what are those bunch of tools are nothing but what we will go through what we call as a DevOps lifecycle. So it looks something like this. So if I say what is DevOps, like I told, we'll be focusing on creating certain automation tools. Okay. What are those automation tools? We'll come to that. Okay. Some automation tool. Let's take for version control, we are using Git. Okay. That's one automation tool. Okay. And making the code go to the server in a streamlined manner, you have a tool called as Jenkins. Okay, these are some of the DevOps tools. So how to configure Git, how to configure Jenkins. Okay, why do we need these kind of things in place? Because we want to make our products, improve it faster with new features. Okay, if we do not have automated tools to help us replace the manual operations, like bringing the right version of code to the server. Okay, otherwise what happens, the developer will always be focused on, oh, I have written the code, but did the right version of the code go to the server or not? Okay, and maybe I have written a code, but I want it to be deployed at midnight, and for that I have to be awake in the midnight. If you have a streamlined process which is already in place, where testing and everything is integrated, automation testing, all of that is integrated to that whole process, then I can just make sure my code is there in any version control system like Git, and I can just go to sleep. Right at midnight, the code will be auto deployed by the automated process. Okay, so you need all of that so that you become one level above in the market sector, okay, with help of these tools, and you will be able to be one step above your competition, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a delivery pipeline. Okay, pipeline means like you have the code and make sure it is deployed to the server. When it is deployed to the server, the end customers can see your website, right? So you're making sure you have a system in place where you can build your code, test it, and release it. Okay. Build means you're making it a high level code into low level code, which the machine can understand. All right. And then you have to test it, whether there are any bugs or errors or anything. And finally make it available for release to this and deployment and installation on the server. Okay. Now the thing is, DevOps is not only about just deploying something onto the server, but also monitoring and the end server. Okay. So you need to monitor a lot of aspects. Okay. Is my code possible to work at scale? That means if the number of user traffic increases by a huge margin, then will my code or my system or my infrastructure be able to sustain the number of user traffic, right? So if I have a FIFA World Cup, okay, football World Cup, right? On the last day of the match, you will expect a huge user traffic surge, right? So is my system servers, number of servers that I have, can it be scalable to 1,000 servers or whatever be it that my requirement is? Can I scale on the go whenever required? And if I do scale, or will all my systems have the same replica of my application running on it? Okay, so all those things which we are going to do as a DevOps engineer, we're going to help the developers to make sure the code and all versioning and all is done. But we're also going to help the operations team to make sure that they are monitoring the servers actively with the help of certain monitoring tools like Prometheus, Grafana, okay, ELK. Okay, these are some of what we call monitoring tools. Okay, so we'll be using them on during the coursework. Okay, so there are certain challenges that developers have. Number one, they are always waiting for the code to be deployed on the server. Deployed means installed. Okay, but now there is no more waiting because there is quick deployment is possible with the help of those streamlined pipelines, automation pipelines. Okay. Pipelines are nothing but like you have stage wise setup. Okay. So build, test, and that's what I meant by a pipeline. Okay. So these are all software defined things that we are doing and which will help us in deploying the code effectively. All right. And plus what we're doing, the developers need not focus on old and pending code. Okay. They can keep focusing on new code. Like version 1 is written of the code. I don't need to wait for the deployment to happen. I can start my work on version 2 of the code. So new feature. Suppose I'm creating a home page and now there is a new feature in the home page where I have a chat system in place for support, chat support pop up on the side of the window. Okay, so I can start my work on this rather than focusing on old code. Okay, so there is no waiting time, right? So this is how DevOps engineers will go to help the developers. Same way, we also need to understand the DevOps part. Ops means we have to help the operations team. Okay, so if we are helping the operations team, we need to ensure there are continuous monitoring systems that are in place that will monitor the service on which the code is deployed. Okay, even we need to monitor the network, say if using Nagios. Okay, another thing that we need to make sure that the servers that were configured or scaled up in large. Okay, so the thing is, we only need to scale up on the day when there is user traffic high. Okay, the next day we want to scale down. That means we only want one system. We don't want these two. So that kind of automation, how we do it, we can do it with the help of certain processes. Okay, that what tools are we going to use using that? Plus, all the softwares in all three systems must be the same, which is what we mean by configuration management. Okay, you have to provision the system, infra, and the softwares that are there in that infra effectively. Okay, how to do that and make sure the service is always available 24/7. Okay, is it clear till here, Eza? Yeah, okay. Okay. So the thing is, like I said, I'm always asking you for feedback. So that's one of the, what you could say, always we look at effective feedback even in DevOps. Okay. In DevOps also, we make sure the feedback is important so that we can continuously improve and provide better customer experience. Okay. So this is how we go about in this. There are certain business benefits of using DevOps as well. Okay, so increase efficiency, and suppose something goes wrong, you can roll back faster. And even if something goes wrong, the number of failures are very less comparatively because everything is now automated. So your return on investment to your product that you have developed is much more higher. Okay, this is some of the business benefits. Now, if you look at the DevOps adoption, we generally go ahead by changing our mindset. Okay, number one is changing the cultural transformation of the company that you're working. You change certain processes to include transformation in technological services that is being done. You try to automate everything which is available 24/7. Number one is that also that you're adopting cloud computing technologies. That's what makes it available 24/7. Okay. And adoption of certain tools, all the DevOps tools. Like I said, Jenkins. There are certain other DevOps tools like Docker, Kubernetes. Okay, that we will cover when we come through the course. Okay. Now, like I said, we always take feedback. That feedback is nothing but looks like this infinity loop. Okay. So this infinity loop has certain tools associated at each stage. Okay. You cannot take one tool and put it in another tool phase. Okay. Like for instance, I'm using JUnit for Java unit testing. I cannot use that for versioning of code, right? So each phase has one DevOps tool associated, maybe one, maybe two, multiple, okay? But we always go with the most popular in the market. Okay, so if I'm going version control of the code, the most popular is GitHub, right? Not that it is the only one. There are other ones like Bitbucket. Okay, there is code commit of AWS. Okay, these are all some of the other version control system, but we take the most popular ones because that's what's going to be asked in interviews as well. Okay, so whether it be the coding phase, we will be going through that. The build phase, we will be covering something called a Maven. There are other build tools which we learn. This is just a small introduction, but there will be a lot more other that we will learn. Something called as Ant. So build means we're converting high level code. So if I write Java code, okay. So Java codes are like English like language. Like I'm speaking to you, right? If I say some Java syntax, suppose system.out.println. Okay, this is like something I want to say, like it's like you can understand what I mean. I want to do something with the system. I want to output something. What is the output? I want to print something and then go to the next slide. So looking at the syntax is that you're able to. So this is considered as an English like high level language, Java, right? You want to convert it into low level machine understandable code, which is nothing but binary, ones and zeros. Okay, that whole process happens in this build phase. So for that, we have a set of tools. Okay, we have Maven, we have Ant, we have, say, for instance, Node.js. Okay, these are all build tools that you can use. Okay, based on the source code. Okay, and you have testing. Once it is you can't have buggy code going into the server, which is in the AWS and deployed there. Okay, you need to test it. Okay, so the first half of this is called a CI, and the second is called CD. Okay, CI stands for continuous integration. What do you mean by continuous integration? Like for instance, I have version 1 of the code. All right. I make the version 1 of the code go through this loop. Okay. Then I take version 2 of the code and make it go through the loop again. So what do you mean? It's a continuous thing. Like new features are anyway going to come. It's never ending. Okay. That's why it looks like a infinite loop. Okay. So that is called the integration part, continuous integration. The second one, CD, which stands for continuous delivery. Okay, some people call it deployment also, but officially it is continuous delivery. Okay, continuous delivery or deployment, you could say. Wherein the code, whichever version of code that you are picking it from GitHub, you have to make sure that version of code goes to the cloud environment where a server would be. We would have already configured a server which is equivalent to what the code requires. Okay, if I have a Java based code, I need to have Java installed on the server. Okay, for that purpose, we use something called as Docker. Okay, Docker, which provides us with the code with all the dependencies that it requires. Like the code requires for it to run, it needs Java, right? So we're putting it in a container which is having Java. So you can deploy it on any environment that you want, right? It can run on a Windows machine, it can run on a Linux machine, anything. Okay, so for managing all these containers, you have something called as Kubernetes. Okay, so these are all the DevOps tools that we're going to learn. And see the monitoring part, we have network monitoring and Nagios, you have Splunk, Datadog. These are all monitoring tools. Okay, so by max, we will try our level best to learn what is open source tools. Okay, we'll try to learn maximum open source because whenever you go to any company, they're first going to ask you, how are we going to save the cost, right? So in that way, they are going to willing to always go for open source first. Okay, it's does open source does not mean you're compromising on quality. Okay, of the DevOps tool. They are all like if I take Jenkins also, they're all powerful tools, but they are completely open source. Okay, and it's highly used in most companies in the UK market, say for instance, whether it be banking sector, healthcare sector, whichever one be it. Okay, so some of the skills as a DevOps engineer from the leading industry they expect is that you need to have certain knowledge. Okay, so since we are working on cloud platform, okay, we need to learn something called as virtualization and the security aspects, network and storage with respect to cloud. We need to have some idea of that. Okay, which we will learn through the coursework. Okay, you need to have some soft skills so that you can, communicate what kind of technical skills or know-how that you have. And you need to have an administrator because most of the things that we're learning are tool-based. All right, so you need to be like an administrator sorts. Okay, and a little bit knowledge of coding. Not that you're the developer who will sit and write code, but some of the tools like Jenkins, right? You configure it using Jenkins file. Okay, and that file, the language that is used called Groovy script, right? So certain codes, but with specific mainly to DevOps, we would be expected to know, right? So, like I said, see Docker, Kubernetes, we need to know certain monitoring tools. Okay. Then I told you, right? We need to spin up infra at in a very short period of time. You can actually spin up infra through what you call as IAC. It is IAC. It stands for infrastructure as a code. Okay, infrastructure as a code. That means what? With the help of code, I can create infra. So it's like I'm having a script file. Whenever I want, whenever I require, I can just execute the script and the entire 10,000 servers, whatever I want, I can spin it up overnight. All right. And if I don't want it the next day, I can just completely destroy the whole infra. Okay, that kind of script-based control over the entire infra. Okay, that's what this is all about. So the major player there is Terraform, so which we'll be learning. There are other ones players which is called Pulumi. Okay, but we will be configuring in Terraform because that is the most industry friendly, you could say. And in most interviews, they ask you a lot of questions on Terraform. Okay, I also touched about Jenkins. So there's other one which is called TeamCity. Now this is kind of paid. There's a free version to it, but there's a paid version. So we will be focusing mainly on Jenkins. But I will definitely be also covering TeamCity so that we can do a comparison as to what is the advantage of one over the other. Okay. So I told you open source tooling is what we're going to be learning. Okay. And expectation is that you have to create all the DevOps streamlined processes and later on maintain them and update them whenever required. Okay, so you have to be part of the maintenance of also the documentation related to all of this. These are some of the expectations. Okay, globally, if you look at the DevOps market, uh, luckily, UK is the Europe has the maximum 32% of the entire DevOps global market domination, you could say, and second being USA and third being Asia Pacific. But the biggest advantage of this is the fact that it is a remote opportunity. Lots of jobs with the remote opportunity, considering that all the DevOps tools are actually in cloud platform, all the DevOps tools that we're going to learn. So since it is a cloud platform, it is accessible remotely everywhere and available 24/7, making it one of the best sectors for remote jobs. So me sitting in Asia Pacific, I can opt for or apply for a job in Europe. Okay, so you can save out on a lot of money in terms of travel and all those things. Okay, So if you can see the salary trends over time, this is only till 2023. So you can imagine what it is now, 2025. Okay, these are some of the players in the industry sector: Lloyd's, Banking Group, Barclays, TCS, IBM, Accenture, who really needs a lot of engineers in DevOps. Okay, this is an average salary, really. Okay, but the average salary itself is pretty impressive. Okay, so you could start off as a beginner level, then a mid level, and then a senior level. So that's generally the trend that goes around. Okay, any doubt you have?